Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about what props are, how to pass data between components by using props, and I will also show you how to create dynamic data. So let's get started. So what are props? Props stand for properties, which is an object to pass data between components. The flow of data coming from props are unidirectional and the data is read-only. And to understand this concept better, now let's see the usage of props in an example. Okay, so here in the example, we have a title component is being called multiple times, which renders exactly the same text again and again. And this is happening because when we visit the title component, we see that it returns a single hard-coded text. But let's say you want to do this more dynamic and print out different text by using the same component. So we can do that by using props. When we call these components, we can define here custom properties. For example, headline. Now the headline property is our customly defined prop, which we will use to change this text here. I can assign a string here to the headline prop, let's say title 1. Now, as you can see, nothing has changed yet because we need to pass this property to the component itself. And to do that, we need to define here inside the parentheses a special name called props. Now let's log props to the console and let's see what it returns. We see that it returns an object 5 times. So first of all, we understand that props is an object because it returns back an object. And when we expand this, we see that the first object has an object prop called headline, and we can see its value here. The other objects are empty because I haven't defined any properties here. If we want to see the result, I need to clear this and call our props object inside curly braces. And to access its property, I need to use the dot notation and call headline. Now let's save again. And as we can see, now we have access to the value of our prop. Now, if you prefer, you can add the same property to the same component with different values. And when I save it, this time we see that title 2 and 3 gets printed. So this is how we can create our components more dynamic. Okay, so here the values are still a little bit hard-coded. We can convert this into a more dynamic way. I'm going to define here a variable, let's say constant title, and you can assign title 1 here. Now, instead of assigning here a string, we are going to use the curly braces again, and inside the curly braces, I am going to write our title variable. Now, when I save it, we see that nothing has changed because this does exactly the same thing. If you prefer, you can change this to some other text. And when you save it, it will also change. So this is how we can use dynamic values in React. Now, one important thing you need to know about props is that data flow of props always happen from parent to child in a one-way direction. So what I mean by this is that we can only pass some data from parent to the child component. In this case, the app function will be our parent component, and the title, since we call it here, the title component will be our child. But the thing is that we can keep passing the data again and again from component to component. So let's create here a third component. Let's say subtitle. Okay, now this is our third component. Now the good thing of using props is that we can keep passing data from child to its grandchild, and this goes so on. So in this case, the subtitle component can be our grandchild. So when I come back here, I can define, for example, a new variable, let's say constant subtitle, and assign it a new value, subtitle. Now, for example, I can define a second prop, let's say new prop, and assign it the value of subtitle. Now, if you prefer, you can use this new prop inside its child component or you can keep passing the data to its grandchild. So here I need to use props. Let me clear this. We need to call the grandchild here inside the title component as its grandchild. So here let's define this property subtitle, and here call props.new prop. So this is still hard-coded text. Let me clear it. And as we did for the title component, I need to pass the props object again. And here I can return props.subtitle. And when I save it, this time we can also see the subtitle text gets printed as well, but it is only shown once because I only defined it at the first title component, not at the second and the third one. So since these two components don't have this property, that they cannot show it, even if you call the subtitle component here. Now let's recap what happened here. Firstly, I created a data on the parent component, which is the app function. Then I passed this data to one of these components as a prop. Now next what we did is that I come to the title component. Now this is the child component of app.js, and here I called the subtitle component, which is the grandchild. If you see carefully, I haven't rendered the subtitle data, but I gave it away again with props to the grandchild, and I rendered the subtitle prop here inside the grandchild. So this is how we can pass data with props again and again from parent to child and to grandchild components. Before closing, let me also show something important, which is that props data is read-only. So when a component receives some data coming with props, it cannot change it. So when I try to change the data coming with props to, let's say, something new, we will receive an error because data coming with props is read-only. But React has another special object called state, which allows us to manipulate data, but we will see that in the next video.